Hi everyone, how's it going? Can you hear me okay at the back? Okay, awesome, great. So let me first try out and make sure I can play this. Oh, there you go. Perfect. So basically, as was described earlier, my name is Sania Jhankar. I have a video production company. We do a lot of short form content, everything from social media marketing videos, how-to videos, crowdfunding campaign videos, commercials. So anything you think of video, you can come to me for. We're essentially a one-stop shop for content. In terms of what I'm going to talk about today, branding is obviously a very large topic, but since we specialize in video content, and video is something you absolutely need no matter what stage you are at, I want to leave you guys with some simple ways in which you can go home today and actually consider creating a video on your own, regardless of what your budget is. So that's my kind of goal by the end of these next 10 minutes. Oh, so while I am going to give you some tips, the only request I have in return is that if my water does end up breaking, my husband's phone number is at the back of my notes, please call him. So thank you for that. In terms of what kinds of videos are best made on a budget, right? There's so many different videos. There's animation, you heard commercials, you hear narrative content, you hear branded content. The simplest thing you need to know is that there are two types of videos when you're starting off that are essentially the route you're probably going to take. The first one is a narrative video, which is basically anything with a storyline. So if your brand has a story, if your brand has some sort of an interesting fact or an interesting differentiator that you want to present, think of what kind of a story you want to tell. Some people, when you have a lot of money, you can end up spending and make a really nice commercial, but you can actually make a really good narrative commercial on your phone, even by just telling a story or a script that is witty, clever, interesting, and somehow connects with a larger meaning that's behind your brand. What I'm going to get into today a little bit is the other type of video, which is the founder story video or the testimonial video, which is the other two things I've listed up there. Essentially, a founder story video is basically every founder has a story. There's a reason they started their business. There's a reason they think people will buy into their business, and there is a reason they think it's going to do well. A founder story is essentially these three things describing your product or your service directly to camera. So basically what I'm doing right now, if there was a camera right in front of me, which there is, if I start to tell you what Luminous is, why you should get a video with us, that ends up becoming a founder story. So each and every one of you does have a story, no matter what stage you are at. That's also the easiest video to make when on a tight budget, because essentially what you need is a camera, your story, and a voice. So that's what I'm going to talk about a little bit later. And a testimonial video is essentially similar content, so someone talking to camera, but think about your customers. So if your service or your business is a little bit more established and you do have a few good customers, get them on camera. Get them to talk about why they like your product or your service. Shoot that, and that can end up becoming a proof point for future customers. So these are things that you don't need to spend on actors and locations and expensive things, but things that can be done almost on a monthly, bi-monthly basis in order to create and churn content on your social media or otherwise. Okay, so now I'm going to jump right into whether you're doing the testimonial video where the speaker is talking to camera, or if you're doing a founder video where you as the founder or the founders are talking to camera and explaining their stories. How can you make sure that it doesn't look like an amateur has done the video, even though you're not spending thousands of dollars and not hiring a professional? What can you do within your capacity with a camera and a mic? What can you do to make the video look quality-wise as professional as possible? My tip number one, location, location, location. New York City, that's something we hear all the time. So it's easy to remember. Start with picking a location that has a few good things. One, a large space. So if you have, it doesn't need to be as large as this, but if you have a good 600, 700 square feet of space or a room, that's a good starting point to begin with. There are places like Breather, Pure Space, Spacer. You can rent rooms for $50, $30, $40 an hour. My tip would be consider using one of those spaces because they have really good background, and background is the next thing up there. Having an interesting background can make a video a lot more engaging than you can realize. For instance, think about a brick wall. Think about interesting paintings or plants. Think about, like for instance, in this particular one, this particular office had this interesting phone booth situation going on. So we kind of used that as the backdrop in order to just make it a little bit more interesting. One of the things that really distinguishes a professional video from an amateur video is, have you guys tried the portrait mode on your iPhone? Don't we all love it? Why does a portrait mode work better? Because the background is out of focus. If you could compare it to a regular photo, that's not the case. Everything is in focus in a regular photo. A professional video will always have the background out of focus. The easiest way to do that, keep the speaker about 6 to 8 feet away from the background. Believe you me, you don't need the fanciest of lenses as long as you follow this rule. This is something we learn in film school. So it's very basic, very easy to do, and which is why I initially recommend that you try to go with a slightly larger space in order to do your filming. Okay. Next tip is lighting. So when you think of lighting, people end up thinking of like really fancy lights and what else can we get and rent. Those can also be helpful, but one of the easiest way to find light is go natural light. Place the speaker as close to the window as possible. The window should be on either side of the speaker, not behind or in the front. What that does is that if you see in this photo, the window is on the speaker's left side, so you see the light coming in nicely, and there is again this kind of professional feel going on where the light is just not blasted on them, it's just a little bit of light on one side. That's another tip for making a video look a little bit more professional. You can use practicals, which is basically like a lamp next to you, or any other small light that can possibly light the background. By using this natural source and one practical, you can create an impact that's very similar to something like this, where you have nice light coming on one side, and then the backlight is basically your any sort of house light that you might have. All right. The third rule I would say, again, it's something we learned in film school. It's the rule of thirds. It's really easy. Never place the speaker right in the center of the frame. This is not 1991. This is 2000 and something. So you want it to look modern. You will never see in a professional video a person basically like the second one, which clearly says bad. So you want to try to place the speaker a little bit off center. The easiest way to do that is divide your frame into 3 parts, just visually, and try to put your speaker in either one or the other of the 2 parts. So one part is completely empty, where you see a nice out of focus background, and that's again going to create a very, very professional look. So rule of thirds is really, really important. Color. So one thing, again, we are ladies and everyone here seems to be like nice and colorful, but a lot of entrepreneurs end up like creating video content where they're wearing a gray hoodie, where the hoodie's on their head, and they're just like, oh, I'm just going at it. All great, but it doesn't grab attention. Many times, using color to grab attention can be the easiest thing to do. So think about color as a very big part of your visual storytelling. At any given time, when someone's watching a 30-second, 20-second, 15-second video, the reason they are not, you have to give them reasons to not switch over or not skip to the next video. So what you want to do is kind of think of all the elements that are visually going into the frame. So in this case, what we did is that we had a bright yellow shirt that she was already wearing, a sweater. Then there's a blue wall popping up from the other end. And then there is a slightly like maroonish pillow on her left side. Placing all of these elements are extremely intentional. So spend the first 15, 20 minutes, even half an hour of your shooting time establishing what the frame looks like and why that's going to be visually appealing. Again, use colors for clothing and props to pop it up. Think about what brand colors you have. Like think about if your brand is more earthy colors, and then see what you can do within that color scheme in order to make sure that it's all aligned, it's all telling the same story. Okay, last. When doing video, don't forget audio. I would say this should be maybe the first tip, because bad audio is just unattractive. No one wants to. If you couldn't hear me right now, no matter what I did, it's gonna have no impact, right? So you want to make sure that whatever audio you're recording is completely clean. The refrigerator should not be on. The traffic outside should be completely soaked in. If you have any blankets, sometimes blankets help soak a lot of sound. Try to use those. Try to see what else you can do to turn off audio. No keyboard sounds, no background noise. Clean audio is really what gets people to subconsciously listen to you a lot more than audio with disturbances. So a simple thing to do is test your audio before you start filming. Simply, put your headphones onto the camera mic and just listen for 5 minutes as to if everything is clean. Listen really closely. Don't look at the camera. Just hear the audio to make sure it's completely clean. One tip I will give you is that lav mics are really, really cheap, and they are very easy to get a hold of. And when in my younger days, I used to go to B&H, buy lav mic for a shoot, and return it. So it was actually free. So think about what you can do to get clean audio and do it. Let's see. That's pretty much it on my end. I don't know if my time is up. I think it might be. But thank you so much for listening to me. I will be here throughout the day, so feel free to let me know if anything was unclear.